Hey, home buyers out there. So today we're going to be talking about 5 things that are in your buyer representation agreement that you need to know about. In the state of Texas, the good thing is that the buyer representation agreement is pretty straightforward. There isn't any tricky representation or information inside of the agreement. Everything is pretty much common sense and it's in layman's terms, so it's easy for anybody to understand. It is a lengthy document, so you might want to keep that in mind as your realtor is going through the paperwork with you, but it is pretty straightforward. So the key elements about the buyer representation agreement that you want to know about, and pardon me, I am going to look down at my notes because my memory is very, very bad, so I don't want to forget anything. So I did take some notes. Number 1 is the client obligations. The client obligations let you know what you are responsible for as a client. And basically, if you agree to have buyer representation, that means that you're going to be working exclusively with one real estate agent, whoever you're doing the representation agreement with. You're not tied to that person forever, but you do have a working written relationship with them. And if you want to cancel that relationship, you need to have something in writing that says that relationship has been terminated. You can have the real estate professional send you a form with that information, or you can just send in an email to the real estate professional and let them know that you have canceled it. But you do need to know that if you are in a representation agreement, you are only obligated to work with that particular real estate agent. Number 2 is representation. Since it is a legal binding contract, you want to make sure that you are entering the contract. You're 18 years or older to enter into a contract, and you also are of sound mind. You don't want to be sipping wine or anything like that while you're doing the buyer representation agreement. So you want to keep that in mind. Number 3, the buyer representation also states what the commission is going to be. So it outlines how the commission is going to be paid. It lets you know which party will be paying the commission, so it outlines that process for you. Number 4 is going to let you know that the buyer representation agreement is confidential. This is one of the key reasons why you want to have a real estate agent represent you, is because any information you share about your personal situation, why you need to move, credit, finances, different things like that, it is going to be confidential information that you share with your realtor, and she or he is not going to repeat that information back to the seller or any other party, putting you in a compromising position. If you are not represented, anything that you share with the real estate professional, especially the listing agent, if you let the listing agent know that you don't have the funds or your credit is poor, then that information can be shared with the seller. If you have representation, that information becomes confidential and that information stays between you and your real estate professional. And lastly, number 5, notices. There are several notices in the buyer representation agreement, mainly talking about not being able to discriminate, making sure that the property is tested for lead and different things like that. Also letting you know about getting a home inspection, different notices that you need to be prepared for as a home buyer. So that's the reason that you want to have buyer representation, because all of those key things are covered in your representation agreement. Talk to you soon.